to go.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Sarah Lucas. I'm coming to you from the United States. I'm part of the William and Flora Hewlett Foundation and also a very proud member of the Planning Committee for the 2021 World Data Forum. The purpose of today's discussion is to both look back and look forward for the World Data Forum. But we aren't just talking about the World Data Forum as an event. We're talking about the World Data Forum as a community. The community started strong and diverse from the very first day. The first World Data Forum in Cape Town 2017 included over 2,000 people from over 140 countries. It included statisticians, data scientists, big data practitioners, civil society groups, and representatives from international organizations. Many of you are here today with us. And while the year 2020 was incredibly difficult for all of us, it brought two silver linings to this strong community. The first silver lining is that it further expanded and diversified us. The virtual forum and the incredible ingenuity and flexibility of the high-level panel and the UN Stats Commission enabled over 10,000 people from 180 countries to participate in the 2020 virtual forum. We saw participation for the first time from countries like Singapore, Moldova, Malta, and Suriname. We saw more engagement from academics all around the world, and most encouraging to me, we saw more youth involved in the 2020 forum than any forum prior. The second silver lining of our difficult year last year is that the COVID-19 pandemic removed any lingering doubt in anyone's mind about the centrality of data and statistics for human well-being. So we head into World Data Forum 2021 with a stronger community and with more urgency and a fair bit of uncertainty. The forum we know will be graciously hosted by the government of Switzerland. We expect that they will be able to welcome many of us in person to Bern. We also know that they will make it possible for many more of us to join virtually. So no matter where we are, we will all be together October 3rd through 6th this year. And no matter where we are, the 2021 World Data Forum is going to be a great opportunity to both showcase the enormous transformation of data and statistics that followed this unprecedented threat to our systems throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. And it's going to be an opportunity to continue expanding and deepening this rich and beautiful community. Today's session is divided into two parts. The first section, we're going to take stock of where the forum community stands since its inception and provide an overview of what to expect for the Forum 2021 in Bern. The second section is really a deep discussion about the future role of the forum and how it can help continue to build and grow the global data and statistics community. We're going to hear from people who are hosting the 2020 forum, members of the program committee who are helping plan it, and speakers who were featured in our 2020 forum. So to all of you participants, I'm sure you're going to have a lot of questions and comments. I invite you to please put those in the chat. The Secretariat team will collect up your questions and group them so I can bring your voices into the conversation. And to our speakers, just a reminder that there are 9 of you. So, plus a short video and some Q&A. So please be ambitious in your remarks, but modest in your use of time. So let's get started with the first part of our conversation. It is an honor and pleasure to welcome Adrian Howdy to us. He is Deputy Permanent Representative of the Permanent Mission of Switzerland to the United Nations. I want to thank you and your compatriots for everything you are doing to plan this 2021 forum and for your incredible flexibility this year and last. It has taken heroic work to pull this all off. So over to you, Adrian. Please share with us how you all are thinking about the forum and how you are planning for it.
Well, thank you very much, Sarah. I hope you can hear me well. I'll try to be ambitious, but also efficient in the remarks. Good morning, dear colleagues, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen who joined us this morning or afternoon, depending on where you are in the world. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you to today's event, side event for Bern 2021, where we can have a look at the UN World Data Forum of the UN Statistical Commission, which is, as Sarah mentioned, jointly organized by the UN Statistics Division and my country, Switzerland. Once again, we meet today in a virtual setting rather than in person. And this, I think, reflects how our work, our relationships, our lives have changed in the last year. As we are preparing to accelerate actions towards full implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals, the pandemic, as we all know, has set us back. And now more than ever, our commitment to implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is crucial, not only to recover from the crisis, but also to build a more resilient future. With the 2030 Agenda, we have pledged to leave no one behind. But as you all know, in times of crisis, it is exactly the most vulnerable who are particularly impacted. The COVID-19 pandemic is highly likely to exacerbate existing inequalities and vulnerabilities. So I want to quote the Swiss Federal Councillor Alain Berset, who opened the virtual UN World Data Forum in October last year. He said the poorest and the most vulnerable population groups have to be made visible in statistics too, as only those who are counted count in political decisions. So from the very beginning, Switzerland has supported the 2030 Agenda, focusing on ensuring its accountability. The goals themselves are not sufficient to implement efficient policies. Rather, data, statistics, and indicators are essential to assess where we stand in the agenda's implementation and to understand which measures are most effective to reach our objectives. As such, Switzerland strongly believes that reliable, independent, and comparable data and statistics are key to enable sound political decision-making and to implement the Sustainable Development Goals. Resources are needed to close known data gaps, to build up and maintain a global statistical system where reliable data is shared globally to ensure that the agenda is measurable and thus accountable. One initiative towards achieving this goal in the field of migration data is the Migration Data Portal, which was launched in 2017 by the IOM with German and Swiss support. This portal is an interactive website that brings together the available migration data from various UN agencies, and it provides a single entry point for policymakers, for statisticians, for media, and the general public to find timely and reliable information about migration. So without accessible data and evidence, there will be no progress on the SDGs. Only together we can achieve the 169 ambitious targets of the 2030 Agenda, and this requires strong partnership and dialogue. So Switzerland is therefore thrilled to be the host of the next UN World Data Forum and to promote a global platform to exchange. The forum will bring together data users and data producers from all over the world. In addition to traditional physical meetings, online broadcasting will allow thousands of people to join in the conversations, and we are striving to make the forum as inclusive as possible to guarantee that no one is left behind. To ensure the success of the forum, I invite you all to actively follow our Road to Bern project. It's a series of conferences and events leading up to the forum, which seeks to mobilize stakeholders and important actors in order to fully prepare discussions and the potential outcome of the third UN World Data Forum edition. Georges Simon Ulrich, who's joined us here today as well, the Director General of the Swiss Federal Statistical Office, will provide you more detailed inputs on that, on the project Road to Bern, and on the preparation process of the UN World Data Forum. So I'm looking forward to very fruitful discussions with all of you today along the road to Bern, and from the 3rd of October 2021 in Bern or online. Thank you very much for your time, and I wish you a great event. Thank you, Sarah. Back to you.
Thank you, Adrian. What a wonderful welcome from our host country. Thank you so much. I'm going to turn next to someone who in this community needs no introduction, Stefan Schoenfest, who is the director of the UN Statistical Division. The Statistical Division, as you know, is the secretariat for the high-level group for the partnership, coordination, and capacity building for statistics for the 2030 Agenda, for the SDGs. That group I'm going to refer to lovingly as the HLGPCCB. And this group has the responsibility for organizing the forum. So the division also provides the tireless support to the program committee that is working on the forum. And I can single-handedly vouch for the incredible support that this secretariat gives the program committee all year round. So Stefan, over to you. I'd like to hear from you a bit of a stock taking of where we are now and reflections on how the forum and its community has evolved since 2017. You've of course been here since before day one. Please, over to you, Stefan.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And wow, it's such a pleasure to look at all of your faces because this is really the World Data Forum family. And I love how you framed it since the very beginning. It's not an event, it's a community. And even the mere fact that I have the honor to follow two great speakers, Sarah from the private sector, who is of course a partner and very eloquent, and Adrian from the political side, I mean, a user side, and who help us to anchor our work, technical work in the larger picture. So this is really fantastic. When I was a little math nerd in my Bavarian village many hundred years ago, I never dreamed that I would grow up to become a director of a UN statistics division, and that talk always about the convening power of the UN, and that we would one day put a table in the middle of a virtual room and 10,000 people would come to talk to us about data and statistics. In the first 10 years of my career, I denied that I was a statistician because it scared everybody at a dinner table conversation away. So this is quite a journey that we've gone through, and of course thank you to Switzerland, because I mean it's you will be organizing not only one but two, possibly three data fora in different shapes and forms. So that's an incredible partnership. Where did we start? Yes, 2017 in South Africa, we almost improvised that one, and we immediately had 2,000 people in the room. The key word was really partnership, because we statisticians, of course, had a bit of a tendency to talk to ourselves, and we needed to with all the challenges around us, mostly through the development agenda, we needed to broaden our conversation, to bring in, of course, the users to understand better who we are working for. And the users, the community is voracious in its appetite and is becoming more diverse by the day. Communication had changed fundamentally with the ICT context, and everybody is participating. Everybody is in this debate. Everybody can make a contribution. Everybody can be both a producer of information and data and a user. So we needed to find a forum to put this all together, and I think the UN World Data Forum is just in its openness and in its inclusiveness and its emphasis on diversity is exactly this platform. And I think it complements very well the machinery that we have in the UN with the more formal statistical commission, where member states take more parliamentarian decisions on methodology and statistics. We still need that basis and backbone for international data comparability and data quality assurance and monitoring of the SDGs. But we can't do it alone. We need the help of a very broad community. So 2017 was a great start, and as an outcome, we had the Cape Town Global Action Plan, which was really the voice of the countries saying, okay, you want 250 indicators for the SDGs from us, and we know how to do it, but here is what we need in terms of support: financial support, institutional support, partnership support, IT support, etc., etc. So I think that was a great success, and we took that a step further in Dubai 2018 with the declaration focusing on an innovative funding mechanism. And now in 2020 with the unique virtual World Data Forum, we were very much focusing on COVID and the challenges. and we came up with ideas how accelerated action in this data moment where data is really needed most. And we know it will be not only for managing the crisis, but managing our way out of the crisis and building more resilient and sustainable systems right after the crisis. So this is a data moment. So this is a huge opportunity for us. What do we want looking in the future? What are some ideas? First of all, I like the idea of the community. I always said we need a more permanent World Data Forum. There's nothing wrong with having meetings also at the local, at the national, at the regional level. We can have data fora at all levels to keep the dialogue going. Our webinars are already a step in that direction. All of the wonderful events on the road to Bern, they have been a way of bringing even more people to the table and making it more continuous. And I think we need to be ambitious. I mean, there are still some people at the table that are missing. We want to have the big politicians at the table. I mean, we want to have the big industry captains at the table and talk to them. And that leads me a little bit with the Swiss connection to the following observation. We are only 300 kilometers in Bern away from Davos, from the World Economic Forum. So we want to become the World Data Forum. It has the same ambition to become in our space what the World Economic Forum is in the economic space for many, many years. So we will do that. We will all work very hard in that direction with your help. And I'm really, really looking forward to it. And we will do it always on the basis of inclusiveness, equity, bringing in the marginalized voices, working as a data community, and making sure that everybody from wherever you're coming in the planet or in the data spectrum, you have a place at this table of the UN World Data Forum. So I'm really looking forward to organizing the next one, whatever it will be, hybrid. Maybe the hybrid will be the blueprint for the new normal in the future. So we will be innovative once again, and physical and future World Data Fora. I'm looking forward to it. And with these people in the room, I'm not worried for a sec. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. Your palpable energy and enthusiasm and optimism has motivated this community for years. So thank you for bringing that today as well. I'm going to turn next to Georges Simon Ulrich, who is the Director General of the Swiss Federal Statistics Office and host of Bern 2021. The FSO of Switzerland is leading all of the work on behalf of the host country. So Ulrich, Georges Simon, we are hoping to hear from you an overview of what to expect during Bern 2021 and all of the Road to Bern events along the way. So over to you, Georges Simon.
Thank you very much, Sarah, dear Adrian, and dear Stefan. Unfortunately, we are not in New York today, near the Vienna Cafe in a room that is too small with many other people, and we're having our conversation face to face. But this exchange makes international cooperation very interesting that we can also share together face to face. So I'm sure we're all looking forward to sitting together again soon, as much in small or two small rooms and having a coffee after the side event together. But this time will come again, I'm quite sure. But nevertheless, I'm very happy that we can continue our dialogue and exchange today, also just virtually. I mean, it's great that things like that can work, even though it's not the same like meeting each other, but there are always pros and cons for every situation. As you may know, the project Road to Bern has been launched by the Swiss Federal Councillor Alain Berset. Adrian just mentioned it. It was in January 2020 at the annual meeting of the World Economic Forum in Davos. As you just mentioned, Stefan, it's not so long time ago. I mean, we were already there for launching the UN World Data Forum, the Road to Bern, and it's just a step beside Bern, as you all know. Throughout 2020, many events took place. We had 14 national events with the aim to discuss the topics of the UN World Data Forum with our stakeholders, but also with the public in Switzerland. Because it's not just an event for having an event, it's also that we have a discussion before the event takes place, that people are aware what we are doing, that the visibility of that what we can deliver for the society in the whole world needs a discussion before the event. I will just mention it then at the end of my introduction to that we also need to have away from Bern then further on. Additionally, together with our partners, we organized 17 international events. Some events lasted an hour or two, and others several days. So those events were in Paris, in Cairo, in Switzerland, at Davos, in Geneva, and of course the United States, in New York, as well as in Washington, D.C., many different places. Then, due to the situation, they were held in hybrid and also in virtual format, as you all know. Our numerous partners from the United Nations organizations like Paris 21, the World Bank, but also the example of the University of Bern contributed to the success of these events. As we all know, the UN World Data Forum couldn't be organized as planned in 2020. A virtual forum took place from 19 to 21st October of last year. From the 10,000 plus who registered, almost 40% were under 40 years old. For me, that's a strong signal. We have to make the UN World Data Forum as inclusive as possible in the future. Also, when the pandemic is over, I mean, this is a really strong signal that young people should have access to discussion about their future. With the postponement of the UN World Data Forum from October 2020 to October this year, we decided to extend the road to Bern for more than 50 weeks. I mean, actually, when I look back, it's not so bad that we had this possibility to gain and get visibility more than just having one event. So the focus, or the key focus of the road to Bern will remain the same. First, data for social accountability. Secondly, the funding of data and statistical system, which is closely related to the Bern network. And thirdly, gender statistics, and finally, digitalization. Start on the 1st January 2021, we are actively seeking the dialogue with the public. As you all can imagine, this is challenging during these times. However, we will publish soon a series of concepts on our website to present how we will do that. So please have a look at the website, and this is also an invitation. If you see any opportunity to strengthen the dialogue with the public, we are very happy to hear and develop an event or a concept with you. The road to Bern is open for everybody. It's open for you, open for that we all have a platform to having a dialogue about data, SDGs, and all those things that we want to develop in the statistical system as well. There is not much time left until 2030. The UN Secretary General started the decade of action, and I'm convinced we have to support this process. More awareness around the 2030 agenda is important to attain the objective. People need to be aware of the 2030 agenda and the need for more and better data. It cannot just stay within a certain circle. I mean, we need to reach the public. So, ladies and gentlemen, the event of Road to Bern aimed to prepare the discussion for the UN World Data Forum 2021 and to bring concrete inputs. The Road to Bern is also an opportunity to bring awareness on the 2030 agenda, with which the majority are not familiar with in Switzerland and beyond. So we are already confident to show concrete results at the UN World Data Forum, such as launching a data compact, which we believe will be important so that more and better funding will be available. We have had a side event last week on this issue, how to have more and better funding for data and statistics. Some of you have been at these events. So you are all aware of the need of the Bern network, as well as the currently developed clearinghouse. Important to us is that discussion on funding data and statistics is not attended by statistical offices only. We need to have our partners, so like the aid agencies, to have concrete result at the forum. Everything we have achieved last year and everything we will achieve in 2021 will not end in Bern at the UN World Data Forum 2021. Actually, it's just started. There is a road to Bern, but hopefully there will be a road from Bern. The efforts to achieve the SDGs will pursue, and my Swiss colleagues and I will still be around to work with you all together on concrete actions after the UN World Data Forum. Thank you very much. Back to you, Sarah.
Georges-Simon, thank you so much. You know, it's a lot harder to build and maintain a road than to just host an event. So I appreciate so much all the work that you and your colleagues are doing. I'd like to turn it over now to someone almost famous in this world of data and statistics, Ms. Sheda Baidi. Many of you know Sheda as co-founder and managing director of Open Data Watch, longtime World Bank data guru, and dedicated program committee member for the World Data Forum. She has served on many of the planning committees, I may add. Sheda is going to give us a sneak peek of some of the themes we already know will be central to the Bern Road and discussions. Over to you, Sheda.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. And good morning, good afternoon to everybody. As Sarah said, I'll be very brief to give you just a teaser, to whet your appetite for some of the themes and special focus areas for 2021. First of all, we're building on a very strong foundation from the previous World Data Forum in 2017 and 2019 and the virtual. One of the good things that was decided from the start was that we will focus on some special themes, and we selected 5 themes. And then, of course, after the first World Data Forum, we added another theme, Theme 6, which is now called How Far Have We Come, to help us really to organize our work under these themes through the forum, and also keep track of progress and hold ourselves, the community, accountable. And so it's been really fruitful to have these different themes. I will not read it to you, but I will encourage you to memorize these themes, because we usually don't use the long names. We just say TA4, TA3. And one of the cool things, if you want to be World Data Forum cool, is you memorize what is TA3 and what is TA5. So we'll come back to that, and maybe we'll have a quiz when we all get together at the World Data Forum in Bern. But what we did is we have organized, of course, the virtual forum was under these themes. And then we had a number of very dedicated session organizers that had come forward, putting up proposals. We had over 80 proposals that we were looking at. So we went back and we surveyed those organizers to see how they want to proceed, whether they still, because of the pandemic, because of the resource issues, because of the focus of many of the organizers may be changing during the pandemic, whether they had the capacity to continue for the Bern World Data Forum. And we were very pleased to hear that over 60 of them came back. And now we have 66 actually sessions, and they're organized. They roughly fall around these kind of themes. So as you see, and this is very usual, TA2, which is the innovation theme, usually gets a lot of sessions, and then is often followed by TA3 on Leave No One Behind, and TA4, which is on the world around us. And we often don't have enough or as many sessions on TA6, which is way forward. But what we're doing is, in addition to these 66 sessions, we're going to have very exciting high-level panels, and there would be 6 of them. We don't have a slide for that yet because they're all under development right now, but I just wanted to mention a few of these high-level panels, which is going to be very exciting. For example, one that we are working on, and Sarah is actually very active on the high-level panel on TA5, is it trust in data, accountability by the people, for the people. And we're in this high-level panel, but in the which is the same is true for the other high-level panels. We're trying to bring exciting speakers and authors, for example, authors of latest books on democratizing our data, maybe bring some experts on data privacy. So the idea of the high-level panels is that we will really bring in knowledge and speakers that we usually don't see in the other sessions. So that's one thing I wanted to mention. The other thing is that we, through the session organizers and the sessions that we've seen, we're trying to pull out and map all the different items and different themes that are coming out. And we want to make sure that those themes actually map to Global Action Plan, Cape Town Global Action Plan. This is, as we all know, this is an action plan that guides our communities work and trying to harmonize it and connect our activities together and be able for us to sort of measure how far we have come. So this is the 5 actions that we have seen so far, which are the top 5 actions mapped to the Cape Town Action Plan: data visualization, and lots on data communication, which is very important, linking to for communication, for linking to users, open data, which is close to my heart, as you all know, new concept and methods for measuring sustainable development, data and statistical integration, and finally, strengthening data on all groups. One thing I wanted to mention that under all these sessions that we are looking at, we see that the impact of COVID, we know COVID has been a very tough teacher for us. We've learned a lot from what, how we can build back better, post-COVID, and what we have learned in terms of speed, increasing the speed of data and timeliness of the data, how we can, improve quality, how we can respond to increasing the demand of data. So there's a lot of learning that from the COVID that we're also bringing in to our themes and the topics. Final message, which I'm sure that Gabriela will talk about more, is that we will be coming out and putting together an outcome document, which is again, linking and bringing all the different themes and topics together and give us a way forward plan for the next World Data Forums. Sarah, I'll stop here and just a teaser on the themes and areas of special focus, but we have lots of exciting things coming up, which I hope through the road to Bern we can showcase and communicate. Thank you.
Thank you, Shada. And I can already imagine the emergence of the hashtag World Data Forum cool. And I think that maybe because we're hosting in Switzerland, and red sweaters might be the theme also for the World Data Forum cool. So thank you for inspiring us and joining me in that today. To close out part 1 and to continue inspiring us, it is an honor to share the voices of some of the many youth that participated in the World Data Forum virtually in 2020. There was a competition for youth videos about data, documentaries, and we are going to see one of the 3 winning documentaries. It is produced, when I say youth, I mean young. These are 4 people from Portugal who are 16 and 17 years old, so inspiring us with the future of data. So Faryal, over to you to share that video with us, please.
This is our reality. Data can help us change the world and make sure we don't leave no one behind. We have to use this data to not let these countries continue to be left behind in terms of development, helping them to get closer and closer to the quality of life and well-being of the most developed countries. Men own 50% more of the world's wealth than women. Only 60% of children in parts of Africa complete primary school. Almost half the world is living on less than $5.5 a day. Governments use statistics to develop themselves, to plan better and to find innovative solutions to their problems, such as discrimination, education, poverty, and health. In 2018, more than 6 million children and teenagers died from largely preventable causes. Don't shut us up. We are the voice of change.
Wow, that's very inspiring stuff. All right, well, thank you so much to all of the speakers in part 1. You have inspired us with energy and enthusiasm about the World Data Forum for 2021. I hear 3 really important themes emerging from all of you. The first is around equity and inclusion. And there's a very practical application of that about how we get more voices engaged in the forum itself through our virtual channels. We're going to talk more about that in part 2. But also just centering equity and inclusion in how we advance the SDGs and achieve the SDGs with data. So thank you for underscoring that point. I also heard a lot about partnerships and collaborations, including some examples of how the previous World Data Forums have fostered collaboration in ways that might not otherwise have taken place. And the third theme is really about a journey. And George Simon's discussion of the road into and out of Bern is such a reminder that we are on a journey together as a community of data and statisticians that is a long-lasting and strong one. It's not just around an event. So we're going to turn it over to the second part of our discussion. And we're really looking forward now with this emphasis on the value and potential of an expanding community. So we have 4 fantastic speakers for the second half of our discussion. I'm going to introduce them each quickly and pose a question each to them, and then we'll have time to open it up for discussion. So please keep your questions coming in the chat. So for this section, we are joined by 4 people. The first is Philip Shanrock, who is the director of CPI in Colombia. He has served, I think, on every program committee since the inception of the World Data Forum. Second, we have Ola Awad. She is president of the Palestinian Central Bureau of Statistics. And she is also on the current program committee and co-chair of the HLG PCCB. Third, we have Claudia Wells. She's the director of data use at Development Initiative. She's coming to us from South Wales. And she is also on the program committee. And finally, we're joined by Al Kaggs. He is founder of the Open Institute in Kenya. And he is one of the most dynamic and authentic voices from the 2020 virtual forum. So I'm going to start with you, Ola, if you don't mind. If you would help us understand how the World Data Forum connects statisticians with the broader data community. Maybe you can both offer an example of how your statistical authority has collaborated with others that are not part of the statistical community, maybe enabled by the forum, and also what are your hopes for how the forum in the future can help grow and diversify this community, and how might that help you in your work? So over to you, Ola.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and I'm really very much honored to join you and be part of this important webinar. To answer your question and to save time, first, I really hope that we're gonna reach the World Data Forum as much as important with the economic really forum, as Stefan mentioned. I may say after endorsing the 2030 agenda, the international statistical community started to think in a creative manner of the use of data from non-traditional sources and collect data on non-SDG statistical indicators. This step was the first step in implementing the data revolution, which is a dramatic change in the history of official statistics and in the nature of the work of the national statistical offices. The whole idea of initiating a UN World Data Forum began with a decision by the UN Statistical Commission that a forum on sustainable development data would be the best platform for intensifying cooperation with various professional groups, including NSOs, private sector, and data scientists, in addition to representative of governments, intergovernmental organization, and civil society. A positive side of health measures due to the pandemic, as we noticed in the UN World Data Forum 2020, is the widening scope of participation in terms of numbers and the sector the participants belong to, whether we're talking about youth, academia, NGOs. The virtual pandemic also raised the awareness of the importance of data in general, and more specifically, the statistical data. This data environment emphasized the importance for higher levels of disaggregated data as well. I think this forum is really an opportunity for all components of the data community to join together and address mutual interest and get acquainted with the latest developments in the world of data. Actually, the forum and other events like the UNSC, the UNSD webinars such as this one, for example, and the ISI events give us a great networking chances to communicate with the new international players in the field of data become engaged in their activities. And I have really many examples from our side as a national statistical organization. For example, the 50-20-30 initiative, which we will apply to, which will help us to close the agriculture data gap of goal 2. We have the UNSD-DFID, a platform that we started to work on since last 2 years, and now we were able to launch a platform where we have all of our disaggregated data and the SDG also indicators. Another example is joining the Harvard Data Science Review, where I was introduced to Harvard Data Science within the UNSC side events. And we became part of the advisory board in which we got the chance to share our country and region experience and perspective, the future of official statistics, and reach a broader audience. Additionally, the participation of the private sector, which was really very much new to us as National Statistical Organization during the previous UN World Data Forums, with all of them, has encouraged us to open the door for discussion with our telecommunication company here in Palestine and working with the national and international universities on a mutual training course on data science. And now we have actually a training program for our decision makers on data science. This is such, for me, a big added value. In general, I may say that the forum has really helped us as a national statistical organization to think big, to grow our networking opportunity, to exchange technical knowledge with other participants who presented their experiences. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you, Ola. And you know, we have a saying in the US, it takes two to tango, which means that it may be that someone offered you opportunities to collaborate and innovate, but you also had to take those opportunities. And it sounds like you very much have done that. That's a wonderful spirit. Thank you for showing those examples. I'm going to turn it next to Philip Schonrock. Philip, you have been a long time champion for diversity and inclusion in the World Forum community. Hear more about what your ideas are for how we can make the most full engagement. I have questions coming in from the audience as well about how can civil society organizations be more involved, and practically speaking, how can we be more creative on really using a virtual platform to engage more people. So we'd love to hear your thoughts. You are the master of creativity, so share please with us.
Good morning, Sarah, to you and to colleagues. It's good to see you from Cali, Colombia. And talking about diversity and bringing in other stakeholders, going into untapped regions, demographies, and communities, I believe, first of all, Sarah and colleagues, we have to show the benefits that local partners will receive of being part of this type of virtual settings and engaging. Specifically, I believe local partners are interested in lessons learned, in knowledge sharing, much more than any other thing that we can see about tools and mechanisms. And I also believe we always talk about systematizing case studies, but we have to be actually much more action orientated and also have subjects that are important to local actors. I believe capacity building, it's one of those things where we always say we have to create better capacities, but we already come in with a very specific set of issues to create capacities without involving the local communities. So I believe we have to bring back actually new skills and capacities that addresses those local problems that we can bring it closer. And I believe when I'm looking at, and I'm part of the program committee, who are we bringing in here into the discussion? We need to bring in more the users. And the users do not use a language that is very technical, that is very politically correct. What they are actually interested in is on the use and the impact on the ground. And that's something we need to hear. We are so far away from it. I mean, and I just give you an example, Sarah. We're talking still about virtual education, about how do we get to the most needed people at this moment. And in the country where I am, 30 to 40% of the people doesn't have an internet connection. So we have to actually get back to basics. And that's where I believe we need to create participatory mechanisms and virtual communication challenges that addresses those issues and that actually bring local ownership closer to the discussion. I think this is all something we have heard before, but we have to remind ourselves once and again in order to bring this in October, actually have those voices in a dominant place so that we can hear them. And we also give tribute to them, because I believe one of the things we should avoid, and I will end here, it's that we have a checklist of local authorities, of civil society consulted, because that's not the thing we are about, and I believe none of us that are on the call. So over to you, and thank you for this 5 minutes.
Thank you. It's such an important reminder that this all starts with demonstrating the value of data to people to use data to improve their lives and improve the world. So thank you for anchoring us in that. And it's a beautiful segue to Claudia. Claudia, I love that your title is Director of Data Use. And I'm sure Philip loves that too, based on what he just said. So I would love for you to help us think about the relationship between who we have around the live or virtual table in Bern and how we increase the use of data to advance the SDGs. Do you see a relationship there? And while I have you, Claudia, there are a number of questions coming in about how civil society organizations can be more engaged. So as part of your answer, if you can weigh in on that as well, that'd be great.
I can certainly try my best. Thank you so much, Sarah. And it's a real pleasure to be able to talk alongside my esteemed colleagues here, and especially about data use, because it's very, very close to my heart. I think quite often we focus on thinking about if we just improve the quality, if we increase the production of data, then that will fix the problem. But actually, it's really about getting that data used at the right table, in the hands of the right people, so that we can inform the decisions and have that influence that we want. For me, increasing data use is all about understanding the political context, the needs of citizens and decision makers, and importantly, understanding the practical experience of those that provide the services that improve people's lives on the ground. And I think this is where really those organizations representing communities and civil society groups have a really important and very, very powerful role to play. Because if we're going to deliver on our promise to leave no one behind, we must be more inclusive in not just our data production, but our data analysis and our data dissemination as well. And that means not only forging partnerships across sectors, but also inviting and enabling leadership from the local level and the communities that we aim to serve. We know from our recent experience that the need for this understanding of our environment is greater than ever before. And from a data perspective, we're all living in a world that looks radically different, even from 5 years ago. That seems a long time, 2015. To improve our understanding, we have to move beyond, and we have begun to move beyond, you know, what does this data source tell me, to what data sources can help us answer these questions. And to be more like that and to work more like that, we need to grow our community. When we talk about a data revolution, I often think people see images of big data and satellite imagery, but to me, we need to, before we even start looking at the data, we need to develop the relationships to lead to partnerships that allow us to bring data together. It's all about people. If we're going to bring data together from a range of sources, we need to bring people together from a range of experiences to create that body of evidence that helps us solve some of these puzzles. As a community, we've never needed to be more connected to each other, to those who are making decisions that we want to inform and influence, but also to the citizens that we aim to serve. And for me, that's the beating heart of the World Data Forum. And I love this idea that it's not just an event, it is a community. It exists to bring these actors together. It's really easy to say, partnerships are the answer. And I'm guilty of that. I say that a lot. But it's actually really hard to truly realize inclusive and equal partnerships. Many of these institutions have long-standing mistrust of one another. So to build those relationships, we've got to build trust. And in some cases now, we've got to build back trust, and that takes time. We need mutual understanding to see mutual benefit. And that requires us to study the problems together and build the solutions together. And it requires us to listen instead of pushing our own approaches and our own agendas. By coming together, we're stronger and more powerful than the sum of our parts. And we've got some great examples of doing that across the community. And even just in the past year at Development Initiatives, we've been building and nurturing partnerships with organizations that represent persons with disability. Impact on work, improved our tracking international finance, and made sure our processes are much more inclusive. If you take the time to plan and to nurture and build those, if you take the time to build that understanding, we've made a start, but there's all more to do. There's all more to do to keep contact. So to ensure that community continues to grow and be inclusive, we've got to really push ourselves. And that's why attracting a wide range of actors and opinions to the success of not just this event, but for our community as a whole. And I'm really excited about. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Claudia. I'm going to turn to Al next, but George Simone, I just want to give you a heads up. I'm going to come to you after Al, because both our panelists now and quite a few of the questions coming in from the audience are about the practicalities of how you are thinking about being inclusive and using new approaches to bring in new voices. So just giving you a heads up, I'm coming to you with that question after Al. Al, I'm going to turn to you next. Your own trajectory in the data universe has taken you from an initial focus on data for development and citizen-generated data to now a deeper focus on data governance and data rights. And so it feels like you really have your finger on the pulse of emerging issues around data and statistics. So I'm interested to hear from you what you see as some of those emerging topics, and most importantly, who needs to be around the table or in the community at Bern to really make the World Data Forum relevant and influential for those emerging issues. And related to that, I want to tack on a question that has come in from the audience that's related, Al, which is how can the World Data Forum help statistical offices think and act around data ethics and responsible data use? So over to you, Al, with a big set of questions.
Thanks, Sarah. And that last question is wow, it's a big question. I don't know if we have an hour for me to deal with that particular one. But I'm really excited to be part of this community, and I'm excited that even to have been, I'm a more recent member of the community, having joined relatively fewer years ago than many of the people on this table. But the three issues that I think that should be up for discussion in Bern are as follows. One, I think that urgency is needed in the surfacing and of granular and disaggregated data for development, because we have only 9 years to 2030. And therefore, what I think is that we must make significant efforts to increase the number of people who participate and speak. And for me, this includes having villagers, having artisanal minds, having women who are directly affected by some of the health issues that we loftily converse about at the World Data Forum. Having some of those voices actually participate in the World Data Forum in more ways than just having them in very nice videos that we curate. But actually having them be present and having their voices be heard in our podiums. The reason for that is I think that it actually, when they speak frankly about their situation, it grounds us a little bit more, and it provides us with the impetus to actually try and solve those problems in a more realistic way. And then the second thing that I think is that that data and statistical innovation needs to be more homegrown, meaning that whereas the financing of a lot of the innovation comes from more developed and prosperous countries, there has to be a strategy that is strengthened so that developed countries or those people who are predominantly beneficiaries of these funds become the purveyors of what innovation would work in their contexts. What we have to be ready for, therefore, is that these solutions will vary from place to place because, well, I think there's a common saying that Africa is not a country, but then when you think about it, the global south is not homogeneous either. Villages are different. And so you'll find that whatever solutions come from different places, they will be different. And we as the people working on these things at the World Data Forum must now begin to develop strategies to better listen and to strengthen the representation and participation of those countries. So what I look forward in this regard is to have the UNWDF in the future hosted in Botswana or South Sudan or Mali or Goa or Palestine. And then third is that I think that we must pay attention more aggressively to the policies and the frameworks that exist in different countries that enable good governance of data in those individual countries. I think that the WDF could be a great forum for advocacy and for positive pressure. And I hope that we can, as a community, sort of be more intentional about developing that particular muscle within the WDF. Somebody mentioned, I think Stefan mentioned the fact that Switzerland, 300 miles away, is where Davos is, and Davos, if you look at it, is a forum that actually creates some positive pressure for countries to actually perform well from an economic standpoint. And wherever it is that we have the UNWDF, I think it is possible for us to actually create positive pressure for countries to actually want to have better governance practices in as far as data is concerned. I think this is where also the question that you tacked on about data ethics comes in. I think that the World Data Forum creates an opportunity for us to actually amplify the need, the goals, and the benefits of having better ethical standards and better ethical practices within the data community. And it also enables us, because we are a community implies family, it implies some congeniality. It then gives us some level of power over each other to sort of slap each other's hands and say, in your country, Sarah, you're not doing very well with regard to data ethics, and you need these policies to be able to make sure that this happens. So that kind of positive pressure, that kind of positive accountability is something that the WDF could be a great platform for. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that when we have it in some of those countries and some of those obscure places that we usually think are obscure.
Thank you, Al. It's so like you and so important to really center this conversation on people. We talk about data as some abstract thing, but in the majority of cases, it's really about people. And because of that, we need the policies and the governance and the ethics so that data affect people positively and not in a harmful way. So thank you so much for centering us on that. As promised, George Simon, I'm coming back to you. We're hearing a lot of enthusiasm from the questions and also from our speakers about even more inclusivity and diversity and dynamism in the virtual and hybrid model. So we'd love to hear a little bit more from you about what do you have in mind and where do you need help maybe on how to really be as inclusive as possible. And while I have you, forgive me, I'm going to tack on an extremely difficult question, which we've gotten from the audience, which is really about this sort of the second pandemic of misinformation that has emerged during COVID, combined with an absolute deluge of useful data that makes it so hard to use because it's so abundant. So how are you, as a government, managing the deluge and the disinformation around the COVID context, and how should the World Data Forum try and tackle and help manage those issues? So those are two big questions for you, Simone, but that's what the host gets. Big questions and responsibilities. So over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much for these questions. And of course, I don't know all the answers for that, but maybe trying to start with the topic of misinformation. For us statisticians, that's not really something new. I mean, for that, we have the statistical literacy, telling people how we do things and why we do the things like we do it, trying to not just be reduced to a result of something, but also to tell people what is the methodology. Because the methodology you take for a certain question determines the result. And this is something that statisticians are, I would say, in their blood. And we always struggle to also, when we communicate results, telling the people it's not just the result that counts, it's also that you understand how and why we developed this result, with what kind of methods. We do that very transparent. And this is the only possibility you have. Enable people to understand why we came to that conclusion. I mean, if you have a set of data, depending on the definition you take for poverty or whatever, you come to different results. And who is right now? And the statistical world have a long history to how we discuss that we come to a conclusion for a basis of reference that we all stick to. This is not so much about the truth. It's about agreeing on the same basic of reference. And this is what the statistical community can produce. We can say, this is something everybody can follow. This is the way we did it. These were the data we took. And this is internationally and also in through the time comparable. And this is the highest level, the highest value, that we can provide, because this is not what statisticians do. And in the discussion on pandemic, it was not so easy to answer, because if you take, I mean, all the figures, all the data that came, they didn't really, it was always the question, what kind of answer what kind of question can you answer with that data? To understand the illness of COVID, if you know how many people are infected, this is not an answer for that. You just know how many people are infected. So it was not so easy that, the thing that people wanted to know and the question they had, it was difficult to answer with the data that were available. They were not systematized nowhere in the world. So this was really a difficult thing. So I'm just saying that because of, I think, a thing which is important is inclusiveness is not only driven by that we have all the topics within, that they're all there. It is also about being competent to see what kind of differences are here. I mean, if you talk about the SDGs and their goals and how we measure that, this is a huge model behind it that we discuss as statisticians. We discuss it, how to measure these things. If you look from a second perspective, the thing of having data visible, having data interoperable, having data accessible, this has another kind of an ethical background. The ethical background is having access, good quality, that they're interoperable, but it's not the same as if you do an information product, you are responsible for the whole value chain. Data as itself is a part of a value chain from something else. So we then talk about data stewardship, things like that. They have quite a different ethical background than the statisticians have. A lot of things are similar, but there are also other things. I mean, it's also inclusiveness means being competent also for data literacy, statistical literacy, data literacy. And thirdly, and that is important, the more data are available, the more you need to have methods to learn out of these data. Not only deductive way of doing analytics, like having a theory and searching answer through data. It's also about the data itself shows you results that the researcher wouldn't come to. Maybe the data it's still not enough in the way so good that you can really have something out of that, but it will develop in the next couple of years. This is something which is ahead of us. And this is a third world. And at the UN World Data Forum, we have all the worlds together. And this is the idea of the road to Bern. And I would strongly suggest to overtake this idea then afterwards from the road from Bern, or maybe it will be named another way. But I mean, the event itself of the UN World Data Forum, I mean, there we have a high-level group that there are some representatives here. Of course, Gabriela, Elsa is here. I mean, they're also on the table to decide which forum are open for whom. But the road to Bern gives everybody here the possibility to gain visibility for all these topics I was mentioned, topical-wise for the SDGs, but also for ethical discussion. I just mentioned a couple of things like this, but also to really support and enable people to understand what is statistical literacy, data literacy, and you are all part of that. Every one of us is an ambassador for this. Everyone, from every perspective that someone is coming to the UN World Data Forum, and the road to Bern is open for everybody. And this is actually the offer that Switzerland makes. And this is actually the value that we really try to ensure that as much, that it's open as much as possible, that other people come from different views, can use the road to Bern or the UN World Data Forum, but there is more maybe Gabriela and Elsa who should answer that. It's not me that decides something like that, but that everybody has the chance to gain visibility with that label from road to Bern. I hope I answered a bit in that direction, that even though it was a bit long. Huh?
Thank you. No, super helpful. And I think also you're expressing your openness for ideas from others on these questions. So I'm seeing some enthusiasm in the chat about sessions around disinformation and misinformation and ethics. And I'm also, you know, Stefan, I'm going to turn to you. We're going to be closing with Gabriela in just a moment. But as our last question, Stefan, since you are the cheerleader in chief, you know, we're getting some questions both about the last mile use of data. So in countries where maybe data isn't at the center of decision making as much, or whether it's harder for citizens to access and use data, we'd love to hear. Oh, Stefan has left. Excuse me. I was going to our cheerleader in chief, but I'm going to have to come to you, Gabriela, instead. You can do it. So we are getting some questions about, you know, how can this community really extend out deeper to users in lower resourced countries and to people who feel, or countries that feel like their decision making in government is not as informed by data as it should be. So as you reflect on your closing remarks, Gabriela, please not only give us your inspiration for the World Data Forum, but also some inspiration on these questions of last mile, kind of reaching users and people and governments that are not as centered on data yet. But before you start, let me introduce you. Ms. Gabriela Vukovic is the president of the Hungarian Central Statistical Office, and she is chair of the program committee. So that means she's working extremely hard for all of us. And she also represents on that program committee the HLGPCCB. So Gabriela, over to you to wrap us up with some inspiring remarks and grounding remarks for the forum. Over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. I try to start with inspiring remarks and then end with more practical remarks about the organization of the forum. What you asked about helping potential users of data and information in countries where it may not be as much used as in others. I think the UN is the perfect forum for that, and the World Data Forum, of course, is a perfect forum for that because it's open to everybody, and it's among the aims of the UN to help all countries and to have capacity building in all countries. And I think capacity building includes not only capacity building in the production of statistics, for the production of statistics, but also for the use of statistics. And there are many programs for that in the UN community and in the larger or the data community, the international or global data community, to make users of statistics, decision makers, maybe not scientific users because they are probably much more used to using statistics, but decision makers and let's say everyday people who may use statistics to improve their statistical literacy, to improve their data literacy. And these programs are sometimes very efficient. Sometimes they are less efficient because the circumstances may not be as favorable in some parts of the world for that, but some of them are extremely efficient and useful. All kinds of workshops for decision makers and workshops for middle level administrative people. So I think this is one of the let's say that the World Data Forum and the UN in general can give. I would say that the Cape Town Global Action Plan was designed for that purpose, or partly for that purpose, to make sure that no statistical office, no data producer is left behind, and that all the aspects of data production and data use can be found in the Cape Town Global Action Plan, and the implementation of the CityGap is one of the tools that we can use for improving the data production and data use situation in all parts of the world. And I wouldn't say it's only developing or developed divide. It's a divide in culture, I would say. It's in a divide in traditions and culture, not necessarily developing or developed parts of the world. Of course, the ultimate purpose of the World Data Forum is to contribute to the production and use of high quality statistics, including production and use. I would stress both. And if you remember the slogan of the 2015 World Statistics Day, it was better data, better lives. And I'm glad to echo that because as Al mentioned, people and focused on people, I think that is a very important aspect of data production, that is for improving the lives of people through better decisions based on better data. So this is really a continuum, if you like, and this is a very important aspect of all work that is done with and around data. I hope that more or less answers, but I think it could be a useful, now that I'm putting on my PC chair hat, it could be a useful aspect that we should also include in the program, the use of data, not only the production, but to make better, to focus a bit more on the use of data and the education of users of data or potential users of data. Of course, the World Data Forum focuses on the SDGs, but of course the SDGs are such a wide range of data information that it's much beyond that. The World Data Forum and the use of data and statistics is far beyond the SDGs. So I think we can also say that this is a global program for improving the production and the use of statistics and data, and not only statistics, because data again is data and information is not the same as statistics. We heard very many examples of good partnerships that were formed either through the Data Forum or before or after the Data Forum, but with the appetite that was generated by the Data Forum, certainly, for partnerships between producers and technical developers of data. So I think that is also an important aspect that we need to concentrate on, and of course the Cape Town Global Action Plan and all the Dubai Declaration and other outcome documents, and probably the next outcome document will also rely on that. I don't want to abuse the time, so I go to the practicalities of organizing the next World Data Forum. So as you know, the program committee continues its work. I'm very grateful to all the dedicated people who work in the program committee and work very hard in the program committee. Our work, or more, I would say, the planning of the next World Data Forum continues to be affected by the pandemic and the uncertainties related to travel and assembly. So as you know, we decided on a hybrid World Data Forum, and we very much hope that this will.
Gabriella, we've lost your sound.
I was unmuted somehow. Sorry, I don't know what did you hear?
Through the entire forum today without a single person accidentally going on mute. I was about to congratulate us. Anyway, up and we'll close.
Okay. So I will continue with with claims for the no. I will continue with with our committed work to ensure the diversity and the inclusion in participation at the forum. And despite all the challenges posed by the pandemic, to make sure that the participation is very inclusive in terms of topics and also in terms of regional coverage, and participants from all regions of the world can somehow be in the forum. We are very closely working together, of course, with the host country and the Secretariat to explore viable options that provide an open and accessible format to make sure that all regions of the world, as I mentioned, and also all data communities will be represented in the forum. We are in the process, of course, of preparing the next program. For that, we asked all the organizers of sessions who were shortlisted for the previous forum whether they would be interested or they would want to resubmit their proposals in an updated format if recent developments make updating necessary. And we had a very high response and very positive response from the session organizers. And continuing and considering this this strong interest from the session organizers, and also because the uncertainties, of course, of the logistics of the next forum, the program committee is unlikely to run a new call for proposals. So we will work with the existing current proposals. But we are also looking for other innovative and more concise ways to collect new inputs, especially on the
Gabriella, we have lost your sound again, which I might take as a sign because we are at time. Do you mind if I wrap you up?
No, I did not from the distance. But anyway, since we are running out of time, I think I will wrap up and just mention that we shall have 6 high-level plenary sessions that will be the centerpiece of the program. And we currently have about 66 sessions that were reproposed from the previous work. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gabriella. And everybody for participating. I see a question in the chat about how someone gets to engage in the forum. It is open to everyone. You don't need an invitation. You don't need a certificate. You don't need to pay. So just please follow the World Data Forum online and also on social media. So, Shada has branded us a new hashtag, World Data Forum Cool. So maybe we can use that going forward. I want to say today that we came together to talk about data, and we have spent a lot of time talking about people. And I think that's exactly right. because we need to include a diversity of people in the World Data Forum community. We need to ensure that data accurately and beautifully and fully reflects the experiences of people. We need to focus on the value and use of data for people, and we need the right policies and protections in place so that people benefit and are not harmed by data. So people are at the center of the World Data Forum. You are the community. Help us expand and grow it, and we look forward to our future conversations. Thank you all for being with us today. Take care.